Welcome to the Geek podcast, where space blockades don't actually make any sense. I'm Void, and I'm here with my co-host Beej.
Let's talk about trade negotiations.
Let's not. Today, we're talking about Geekery. We're catching up on Geekery. If you haven't noticed by now, we moved over to naming these after Star Wars movies. So, yeah. We just have stuff to catch up on. It's been 2 weeks since we recorded, and it's going to be 2 weeks since we after this until we record again because of the holiday in here. So, I'm just going to dive in because we have a lot here. I've done so much 2019 planning at work that my brain has been fried. So I actually went and I watched a bunch of like TV and movies, and you know how rarely I do that.
Yeah, just binging TV. I don't even want to say binging, but just doing that to the exclusion of anything interactive, really.
Exactly. Yeah. So I tried out a lot of things. I didn't really latch on to many of them, but it was interesting. Anyway, so I'm going to fly through a couple here, and I think you said you've watched one of them, so we'll talk about that. But I tried Castlevania Season 2, and I watched the whole thing, which is surprising, but I mean, I like the first season, so I guess maybe not that surprising.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, you watched the first season of it and loved it, so getting through the second doesn't really surprise me, unless it was terrible.
No, it wasn't terrible. It was a slow burn, but it set the tone really well, and this season was a lot more about like Dracula's court and a lot less about like the church and kind of like the setting where the first one was, because you watched the first one, right?
Yeah, I really liked the first one. I don't remember a whole lot of the details, but I really liked it.
Yeah, so this was good, and it doesn't have too many episodes. It doesn't like overstay its welcome. It had really good action sequences, even though they were a little too far apart for my taste. I wish there were more often, or they had cut out a little bit less, or cut out a little more of the exposition. But there's a really, really good like second to last episode with amazing action sequences, so that one kind of made the whole season worth it. And it wraps up the story of season 1 and 2, but it leaves room for season 3 to kind of be something different, which is nice too.
Oh, cool. Good. Yeah, that shows that they actually know where the show is going as well, so yeah. So that's a very good thing.
So that one was good. I tried Hilda with my kids. We're still kind of in the middle of it. And it's one that's like, it's fun with kids, but I probably wouldn't be watching it without them. Whereas like when I watched The Dragon Prince and I got into that, I liked it. And then I was like, I kind of invited my daughter to watch it and we watched it together.
Okay.
But if she had said no, I would have been okay with it. Like I would have kept watching it anyway. Yeah, but I like this one a lot.
And I keep having people send me messages about it saying that because of how much I love Gravity Falls that I need to watch this one. And so it's on my list. I keep seeing it on there whenever I get in the mood to sit down and just watch a cartoon like that, which is actually probably going to be very soon. That one is going to be one of the kind of whimsical go-tos that I'm going to have. So it looks exactly like the kind of cartoon I love.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, especially with kids, it's really good with kids. So I've been watching that mostly with my son. My daughter's kind of been in and out a little bit, but he likes it a lot, and so I'm having fun watching it with him. I finally got around to trying Avatar: The Last Airbender after so many people told me to check it out after I liked The Dragon Prince. So I tried it, but like the tone is just too childish, and I don't mean that in like a derogatory way. It's just that it really is geared towards kids as the primary audience, and like, I don't know if that's even the right term for it, but the story, you can tell there's an underlying story that's slightly more mature, but the tone throughout it is just like off-putting to me. It feels like exclusionary to adults, whereas most things that are made, because this was made a while ago, it's not super modern. If it's made modern, like a lot of things are aiming towards kids, but they're inclusive of adults, and this feels kind of exclusive of adults in a way that just didn't work for me. It was also entirely predictable through where I watched, and I kind of I started hopping around, but even though I was hopping around, I got through most of the first season, kind of.
Oh wow, I didn't expect you to get that through that many.
In fits and starts. Like, this was me starting to fast forward and like, please, is there anything here worth my time? Maybe not. So the other thing is that it's like 20 episode seasons, which you know how I feel about that these days.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are hard to get through anyway. And if it's a show that you're not really clicking with, they can be a slog.
That one was, I don't know, I kind of bounced. I did like some of the action sequences. And then I just sampled just the very, very beginning of Legend of Korra, and I was like, oh, wow, this is like way, way better. So I think I'm going to come back around to that, but I didn't even watch a whole episode, so I don't want to weigh in on it too much. I watched like a few minutes, and then I kind of clicked around, and I was like, is this different enough? And I think it might be, which is interesting.
And it's weird because I hear, and someone corrected me on this, that the ratings on Korra and Avatar are backwards from what I thought, because I'd always heard from anecdotes from people that Korra was better than Avatar.
That's
and
what I've heard too.
The ratings on like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, I can't remember where they said, were the exact opposite. That Korra had significantly lower ratings in general than Avatar did, and I wonder if that is the people who review it, if it is coming from the time before Korra, where you couldn't look at them objectively that way, or what. But either way, I'm glad that Korra seems like something you could get into, because I've heard nothing but good things about both of them, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. So the next time that I get a chance and I want to do another kind of like TV, check out a bunch of new things, Legend of Korra is definitely on the list for that. And then I watched the whole first episode and a little bit of the second of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix, the Netflix original. And it's horror, kind of. It's not exactly. It's like horror adjacent. It reminds me of like Stranger Things, kind of that tone where it's almost like thriller, creepy, but then every once in a while it flips into horror. It's kind of interesting because I liked Sabrina when it was in TGIF. I mean, you and I grew up with TGIF, right? But like, ultimately, this isn't my genre, but I think I might want to watch more. I mostly bring it up because I think you would like it. I really think that this might be a show that would be like right in your wheelhouse.
I'm fairly certain that it is. I've had a lot of people tell me that it's great. I've seen good things about it on the internet, and we were almost going to start it a few weeks ago and ended up getting into other things that we were watching. And this is one where I think you told me that it has some really weird, out of place violence in it that you didn't expect.
No, it's not out of place. It has extreme violence, but it fits with the tone of the show.
Okay, it does fit. Okay,
yeah.
See, I was actually thinking it was the opposite, that it was that the violence itself was out of place. But that's something
No, it works. Like, it works with the horror element of it, and it's, I don't know, this is not the TGIF Sabrina.
No.
It's not family friendly. It's not that at all. It's really telling like an occult story. So if you're somebody that like has a problem with the occult, or like, kind of, okay, so when you think back to what people used to think D&D was like in the 80s, right? That's like what this show is actually trying to be, like that type of occult type show. So if you have a problem with that, avoid the show. If you have like religious reservations or anything, if you're into the occult or if you're fascinated by it, then you should like definitely look at the show. It's super interesting.
Yeah, I really want to see it. I know one of my friends ended up binging the whole thing the first day that it was out. So it's
cool.
And he likes fantasy stuff, and he likes this kind of fantasy and horror. So I'm pretty sure that it would be right up my alley.
Yeah, and then like if anyone out there listening has watched the whole season, I know Katie and Chelsea just did a whole episode, like a recap on the season too. So you have that out there to listen to if you listen to Tea Time with Katie and Chelsea on the network. And then the last thing I checked out was Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I guess my overall review is it's better than the first movie, but I'm also glad I didn't pay for it to like see it in theaters, Yeah. It's interesting. It's about fathers and daughters, so it kind of hit me in the weak point. So that's something it had going for it. And then the post-credits part of it, it really sets Scott up to be in the next Avengers movie. So I was interested to see like what they're going to do with that. But that's kind of like, I don't really have any more thoughts. It's just like, it's another Ant-Man and it's better than the first, but it's not amazing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we watched it. We ended up wanting to sit down. Since I've been in a comic book mood lately, we've been like, we watched Infinity War, and so we really wanted to get into this one. And I liked this movie a lot, but I feel kind of the same way that you do. It's really the same way I feel about the first Ant-Man. It's that it's a smaller scale conflict. There's not this world-ending kind of issue. They're very personal, very small stories, and they still matter because they're the personal stories to these characters. And I really, really liked this one, but there's not a whole lot to say about it. That I'm glad they did this one. I really liked Evangeline Lilly. With her as it's not Janet because that's a different character. Hope, with her as Hope and being the Wasp, that's great. I think it's wonderful. I like the side characters. They make me laugh. But in terms of deep thoughts about it, I don't really have any. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't have any deep thoughts about it either. It was just, yeah, okay. It was worth 2 hours, but it also wasn't
Yep.
worth paying to see in theaters for me. So I don't know. It kind of landed in that spot of Marvel movies. I also have a ton of games that I tried out or beat or played, but I want to hear what you did this week first. Then we can get back around to me.
Okay, so this week I've done quite a bit of new things.
Please tell me about Double Dare first.
Okay, so Double Dare Live was awesome. So last time that you guys heard from me, it was recorded before I got to see it. So it was exactly what you think it was going to be. You go in, and they actually have registration for people to be on teams and stuff like that and go up. And like there are people in T-shirts all around. So we get in there, and we are surrounded. We're one of maybe 10 couples who don't have kids with them. Like the entire auditorium was sold out. It was at the Tennessee Performing Arts Center in Nashville, and so it's it's where all of the like traveling Broadway shows come, and so their main theater here was completely sold out. It was set up, and they had this huge screen up front that was showing clips from Double Dare when we first came in. So that was awesome, watching these old clips from Double Dare when we were kids, and then there were just kids everywhere that they were just having a good time. And when it started, we were like, we don't really remember exactly what Double Dare as a show consisted of. Like we couldn't remember the flow of the show itself.
Oh, sure,
and,
yeah.
And so we're watching these clips, and we're like, oh yeah, I remember that now. I remember that. And as they started the actual program, it was Mark Summers, the actual host from when we were kids, came back and was doing this. And he would get the kids just so excited to get up on stage. Like when they did we have somebody coming around into the balcony so that you guys let him know if you want to come up here kind of thing. I mean, there were kids leaping up and down in the seats and just screaming, like all of them at the same time. Like it was hilarious. Like I had such a good time watching them. And when they got pulled up on stage, they would do the things like you have to throw raw eggs at each other, and if you catch it, you have to smash it on top of your head, stuff like that, like Double Dare stuff. And the kids were super into this, the adults were super into this. And the girl right in front of me, there was probably an 11-year-old girl maybe, and she got called up on stage. She got picked in the seats directly in front of me and Jennifer, and she got a pie stuck in her face. Like she had to play like musical chairs or something. I can't remember what they called it, but they did, it was pie chairs or something, where they pass a pie back and forth, musical pies, and then if you were the last one holding the pie, you had to smash it in your face. Well, she didn't smash it in her face hard enough for the producer, so she smashed 2 pies in her face on the front, or on her head, like front and back. And so when she came back up to us, like she still had all the whipped cream and stuff in her hair, like coming out. Like her dad was so proud of her, like grabbing her shoulder and being like, "I'm so proud of you for doing that," kind of thing. Like it was just so much fun. Like they had the entire full obstacle course. They had the nose, the pancakes.
That's so cool.
They had the little squeezer thing. Like they had the slime mountain thing at the very end, Mount Double Dare or Mount St. Double Dare. I can't even remember what it was called now, that with the slime was coming down. And apparently they said how hard it was to actually climb because it was an adult who got to that one and couldn't get up it and win. Like it was hilarious. Like she was like, that slime is so much slipperier than you think it is. And like it was just a really, really fun night to go to. Like I would recommend that to anybody, that if Double Dare Live comes around, that was well worth the ticket price. I think it was around $40 or $50 for the mid-range seats for us to have per ticket. And so if you have a family, I mean, it's going to be more than that, obviously, but every bit of worth it for me. Like I don't like concerts that much. Like I'll go and think that they're not worth the money a lot of times, and this time it's like, yep, they come around again, we're going. This was just too much fun to watch. Like every bit of it was great.
Sweet. I'm glad it lived up to the hype.
It did. And I got to see somebody pick out a flag out of a giant nose, get to them to pull like search under giant pancakes. It was great. It's a dream come true. But I also got myself a new computer this week, so I am mega excited about this. That my other one really did just give up the ghost. Like I finally hooked it back up. I'd been working on my Mac for a couple of weeks and didn't even have the other one hooked up. I hooked it back up and it was so far gone. Like it's not, I can't even describe how, like, you get a step away from something and you come back and you're like, oh, and it's like it was it was beyond done. Like it actually ran Fallout 76. I'm amazed to say that I was able to play Fallout 76 on it at the lowest graphical settings, and it wasn't that awful. Like I actually had a good time playing it. But I ended up buying myself a mid-range gaming PC. So it's not high end. It's not anything huge. Like it's got 16 gigs of RAM, like a GeForce GTX 1050i graphics card with 4 gigs of RAM on it. Ryzen 1200 maybe processor, like solid mid-range, but it plays Overwatch on Ultra and Fallout 76 on high. It's like I can't complain. Those are the kind. It's playing Overwatch on Ultra, and that's one of my evergreen games. So anything like that, I'm fine with. And with Fallout 76 destroying systems left and right, it doing it on high right now, I'm good. I can't complain at all.
That's cool. But you've been using it to play Fallout 76 too, right?
Oh, yeah. I've been using it to play Fallout 76 now. Like I love Fallout 76. Like, have you played it anymore since the beta?
Yeah, I'm not loving it. It's okay, and so the most fun that I've had in it has been like with other people, and every time I try to play it solo, it's just not doing anything for me. And like the core of what I like about Fallout games when I've played them has been the story, and I really like VATS as a system, and it just like it's not there the same way in this. And it's, I don't know. There's also like too much survival in this game, and there's like the inventory limit, and there are things that when I encounter them in a normal Fallout game, I'll just get some mods to patch them out because I don't like them. Like the first thing I do in a Bethesda game, single player Bethesda game, is get rid of inventory limits and like weight restrictions. Like that's number one. And then number two would be like if there's anything I can do to turn off like anything that's even remotely survival mechanic, I do that. And this game, especially if you try to play it single player, just like those are grating on me way too much.
Oh, they are terrible. That's actually the only thing that I really truly dislike about the game is that I spend more time eating, drinking, and crafting than I do anything else. Like I don't get to adventure and explore as much because I'm having to worry about my inventory and crafting and getting rid of all the junk that I'm picking up, but I'm not going to have ammo and guns if I don't. So that's my big like real issue with it. I'm really hoping they patch a little bit in to make that a little bit better. Even if they make guns and everything decay slower, if they make it so that you can, like if they even gave a third off of all the weight before any of the perks came, that would help so much. I mean, I'm pretty much just having to dump stuff in strength right now just to carry stuff.
Yeah, I did that too. And then even just like the shooting in it isn't fun. Like the shooting's not great. It's okay. It's serviceable, but once you get into the like, oh, I'm playing it as a multiplayer shooter, which is kind of what they're trying to do the more that I play it, you start comparing it to other games like, Destiny or Call of Duty or like an actual shooter, and then once you put that as your frame of reference, it's like, oh yeah, this shooting's horrible. I mean,
see, and I like it better than Destiny. Like going from this one, from Destiny 2 to this one, I much prefer this system for online than I do any of the Destiny 2 stuff I've played.
I just find myself missing so many of the things I like in a Fallout single player game, like the NPCs that are interesting, factions where you can make meaningful choices, a main story that's actually like engaging, instead of just audio logs chasing someone that you're never going to see because there's no actual NPC in the game.
Right.
And it's all that kind of stuff. It's like Fallout with the things that I like the most about Fallout taken out of it. So it feels like a very empty world to me unless I explicitly have people to play with, which it just doesn't happen that often for me.
And I haven't actually played with anyone yet. Like I've always had it off, not offline, but I've just always done it solo. Not for me even trying to avoid people. It's just been what I'm doing because I run around and I explore. Because this place, like they've done a really, really good job with the world. That this one, outside of Skyrim, this is the game that has made me want to explore the most.
Okay, hang on, wait. Have you actually played Fallout 4 though?
I've started Fallout 4. I haven't gotten very far into it. Like I got it just actually a couple of days before I got Fallout 76. So I haven't played a lot of it.
Okay, I'd be super interested to see what you think, because that's part of my problem. Is that's my frame of reference, and I really liked Fallout 4, and a lot of the things I love in it just aren't in this game.
Okay, see, and I don't have that particular frame. I have Fallout New Vegas is the main one I've played.
Okay.
So this one just feels a lot more open and airy, and it look, they did Appalachia right. It looks like where I've vacationed all the time. Like there's a place early on in the game called Top of the World, and it looks like a place called Ober-Gatlinburg or Ghost Town in the Sky in the Smoky Mountains in East Tennessee. Like it looks so much like stuff like that. It's like I'm appreciating the world building that they did, because they've got that verisimilitude going. Like they did a really good job of capturing that Appalachian feel.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as I'm bouncing off of it right now, the setting is cool outside of like when you actually go to do things in it, and then I lose some of my engagement. But you're right, like the Appalachia part's cool, and then the other thing is, I do think this is a really good base for them to build on, but
Yes.
this feels extremely like early access. Like I want to see what this game looks like in 12 or 24 months if they really do support it as a platform, because there's a core here that if they do the right things, they could turn this into a very compelling game. It's just like, it's so not there yet for me.
You're absolutely right. I actually thought something, well, when I mentioned that they may patch that in earlier, but I was thinking about that when I first booted up the game, that I didn't feel like it felt like early access, but it felt like a launch game, that it was definitely an online launch game, and or a launch of an online game where there is going to be significant improvement in this game over even the next 6 months. So if you don't like it, don't write it off. I mean, they are planning on supporting this, and unless, you know, the smear campaign that everybody's given in reviews has it actually works, I expect really good things out of this one, because it's a very good base, even if you're bouncing off of it, like you said.
Yeah, I'm gonna not. Here's my plan. I'm not gonna play it right now on my own anymore. I'm gonna wait until somebody explicitly like wants to play, and then I'll jump on like gladly. Like it with other people is fun enough. And then outside of that, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna give it like a year or a year and a half and see where it ends up, because it could end up somewhere really good.
Yes, it really could. I think it will. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with it. And then, so my wife got me Dragon Quest 11 for our anniversary. It was one of those things where we didn't do anniversary gifts, but she's been looking for something for me. It's like, is there anything you want? I'm like, I kind of want this, because Austin's been telling me about how awesome it is. And she's like, okay. So I got it on Steam the other day, and like I have barely scratched the surface of this game. Like, but it is so pretty, and it's on my new computer, so everything's as high as it gets, and the frame rate is unlimited, and turn VSync off, and like it is beautiful. This game is beautiful, y'all, and it's basically Dragon Quest VIII's like spiritual successor in every way. Like even the addition of light, which was just the standard one that I bought, came with 2 items in your inventory that make you look like 8's protagonist, like the hero in 8 for early on. Like it changes the way that your clothes look. It's hilarious. That's like, yep, they want you to know if you like 8, you're going to like this one too.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's kind of what I thought. It was like, yep, this is more Dragon Quest.
Yep, it is. It's more Dragon Quest. I mean, the battles are standard, but for some reason you can run around between your turns. Like, I don't exactly understand why. And you can set the camera to where it's normal JRPG fare, but I don't quite understand why you can run around. Like, do you know if there's any benefit to that or not? Like, I haven't dug far enough into it.
I read that in some of the reviews. Like, why is this even here?
It's a holdover from Dragon Quest 9. Actually, that was one of the systems they introduced there, but the positioning mattered. And then Dragon Quest X deals with it because it's an MMO, it's an online game, and so they moved it into this one, but it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. And my main thing being 71 minutes into it, according to Steam, I need a suspend or quick save. Like, I realize that this is one of the reasons I might end up Steam returning this and buying it on PS4 instead, which I'm up in the air because of suspend and quick save. Like, I will play this and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, something's going on, and I can't just pause it. I can't go into a menu or something or another part of my computer and it will suspend that application like I can on the Switch, like I can on the 3DS, like I can on the PS4, where just immediate suspension I can't do. And I'd forgotten how much I use that in JRPGs, that it has all manual saves, and it has auto saves as well when you enter or leave areas, stuff like that. So it's okay, but it's very annoying not to have a suspend. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me being picky. I got back into a JRPG mood, as you can see, and got into Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the DLC. You sent me a text message the other day that was just like, "You're playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2
again?" Yeah, I was on Switch
again?
and I saw you jump into it. I was like, "What are you doing?"
I was like, "What happened to you? Are you okay?" I'm playing the DLC. I realized that I had about $10 in credit on $8 in credit on the Switch store at eShop, and saw that the expansion pass was cheaper than the standalone for
that makes
Torn
sense.
of the Golden Country. So I was like, I can get this for $20. And I was like, I'll do that. And I've been playing it, and it's more Xenoblade Chronicles 2. The characters aren't quite as endearing as the main game, but they changed the combat up enough that I want to get through it, and I want to see how they tie the actual story that they're telling into the main game, because it's a prequel story to it, featuring some of the characters from the main game, and I'm interested to see how the details work out that lead some of these characters to places that they get to.
Cool.
So it's going to be really cool, and at the same time I'm hoping that the side characters become a little more interesting, because the side characters in the first one, the main game, are really awesome.
That makes sense.
It's good. Like, I like it. It's Xenoblade 2, so you'll hate it.
Yeah, no, I will easily skip that one.
So have you watched the new She-Ra show?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's so good. Like, you know He-Man, right?
No. I mean, yeah, I know of it, but I never watched it, and I don't know. Is that Masters of the Universe? Is that the same thing? Okay, so see, I have a vague knowledge of, like, the relation there in my mind, but I don't actually, that's like, you just got the extent of my knowledge right there.
Okay. So I grew up on He-Man. Like, I loved me some He-Man. And He-Man had a twin sister and a spinoff named She-Ra. And in real life, you learn from the Toys That Made Us that they had toys first, and so they made He-Man, and then they came up with what kind of show would this action figure belong to, and they needed one for girls, so they made She-Ra. Well, She-Ra got remade by the woman who did Lumberjanes. It was written and produced and created by her, Noelle Stevenson. And so it's gotten a lot of flack on the internet because of how drastically they changed She-Ra from the original. The animation style is different. She-Ra does not look like she did before. It's a modern animation style, and it's awesome. That this is a fantastic show. The characters are fantastic. The animation is fantastic. I mean, they do gloss over a lot of plot points that really don't make sense on things, but like characters like Swiftwind, the talking unicorn Pegasus, there's a character named Bo and one named Entrapta. Like, I just love these characters. Like, they make me laugh, they make me happy. And like, I keep hearing a lot on the internet about this show's agenda and that there's gender politics involved in it, and I do not understand where people are coming from on that. It's like, it's all I hear about the negatives, and it's like nothing is ever said. I'm not going to get into it or anything here, but if that's something that you think, that if overtness is keeping you from watching this show, don't worry about that. and it made my wife start rewatching the old She-Ra cartoon that's on Netflix. Like, she grew up with that, like I grew up with He-Man, and so she's been having fun seeing what they took from the old one and changed it into the new one. And even as we were starting to podcast tonight, I heard She-Ra, She-Ra in the other room, so I knew she had started something up when we recorded. So it made me happy. Like, those old cartoons are bad, but for some reason I'm enjoying watching them too. And I don't have the nostalgia for She-Ra. Like, mine's He-Man. Like, I don't have the nostalgia on the She-Ra show, but I'm enjoying watching them because they're so dumb. Like, the good dumb.
Old cartoons. You also are watching Voltron?
Yeah, I actually, it's because of She-Ra that made me go to Voltron, because before, you'll remember, I got like 3.5 minutes into it, and I was like, nope, hard pass. Well, I was thinking about She-Ra. I was looking some stuff up on the internet, and I saw Brave Star. It was a very roundabout way of doing this, but I got to Brave Star, which was another Funimation cartoon, the people who did He-Man and She-Ra, and it was about a space cowboy. And I watched the intro for it. I was like, oh man, I loved all this stuff when I was a kid. And then I saw something about Voltron. I was like, you know what? I should go back and watch Voltron. That was when I texted you that there are 8 seasons of this new Voltron show.
Yeah, that surprised me. I watched the first one, and then I remember when they were like excited because the second one was about to come out, and I think I started it, and then I don't know, I had other stuff to do. You know how I am with TV. I don't latch on very easily.
And that's all I heard about it. And there are 8. Well, 8 is coming out. 8 comes out December 14th. And I'm the same way as you are, where I was like, I had no idea, because I knew that you had season 2 that you liked, or season 1 that you really liked, season 2 that you had started. And I was like, okay, maybe season 3 will be out sometime soon. Nope. 8 is coming out soon. And regardless, like, I enjoyed it. Like, I really liked it. And the first one is like an hour and a half long or something like that, because it introduces how they get Voltron. And it's awesome. Like, this one does remind me of my childhood. I don't have a lot to say about it, but when I'm watching this one, it makes me remember like these flashes of childhood, and it's just in the best way. One of those, like, oh yeah, that. Like, so I'm going to continue watching it for that particular reason.
Cool.
And the animation is neat. I like it when they do like computer animated 3D effects on a 2D background, and they do that really well in this one. I like the way they do the lions and Voltron himself. So I also played Overwatch on my new computer. I told you that it plays it on Ultra, and I don't know how long it's been since you played. Has it been a while since you played? Because they changed a whole lot.
I dip in every once in a while, and I always see like, oh, they changed this character around. Oh, they changed that one around. But I never seriously play anymore. It's just kind of that evergreen, like, I just need something for 10 or 15 minutes. I'll dip in.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I had done. I was like, I want to play Fallout 76. That's not here yet. I just want to, on this one at least, I had played it on my other computer too, but it was like, I wanted to play Hanzo. It's not that I Hanzo main, I Soldier 76 main. That's one with my golden gun. But Hanzo, when I'm not feeling like doing anything but being that guy, I'll hop on Hanzo and be that guy. They changed him. Like, I no longer get my like burst of arrows like that ricochet over the walls. Like, you get like 6 ghost arrows that fire instantly in a row. Like, I hate it. Like, Hanzo's not even fun anymore. And it's like, I'm not even playing that. Like, he's not even fun to screw around on. It makes me so sad. And the same thing for Symmetra. It's like, I logged on. I'm sure she's fine now. But, like, I was so good with Symmetra. Like, I loved her. And it's like, she's changed so much. And it's like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. I'm going to have to really get in and actually just practice to learn what the new abilities are. It's like, I don't get it. Like, I in the middle of a match, just switching over, I was like, oh, this isn't right. And died. And then there's a new hero called Ash. Have you jumped in to see Ash yet?
No, not yet. But I mean, I know of her. We talked about the animation the other week.
She's really cool. Like, she combines like my favorite play styles of tossing grenades and pseudo sniping. Like, I don't like Widowmaker sniping. I like Hanzo being able to focus in and shoot, but not have to deal with the super long scope. And I love the way that she plays, and once it gets over being the new hotness and everybody's fighting to be her, it will be neat to be able to try and see if there's anything, if I can get good enough with her to actually play, as opposed to just being fun. Because right now, throwing dynamite and then zooming in and sniping at somebody, kind of fun. Kind of making them run into your dynamite before it explodes. It's a good time.
Cool.
Real good time. Also, I've been watching so much Adam Ruins Everything. They put a collection on Netflix. Have you seen any of this one? I don't think I've ever heard you mention it.
I feel like you've talked about it, but I don't think I've ever watched any of it.
And I don't know, because I've only ever watched clips on the internet. I've never actually watched the show itself.
Okay.
And like it's probably my new favorite show. Like, it is about him dispelling misconceptions and like ruining things for people. Somebody says as they put it in one of the episodes, like, oh no, someone has misstated a common misconception. And he shows up and then ruins it for them. I love it that it's fantastic that there's a collection of, I think it's basically seasons 1 and 2 on Netflix in the first collection outside of a few episodes. And I ended up buying season 3 on Amazon, and I'm going to end up getting the season 4 when I finish it. But this has been my lunchtime show that I sit and watch while I'm eating lunch, or if I finish up work a couple of minutes early before Jennifer gets home, I'll put one on. It's like the facts that he uses to dispel some of these misconceptions and the arguments that he makes. Sometimes they're too simplistic and selective. I've heard that from a lot of people. I've heard lots of negative things about the show because of that, and I feel about the show the way I feel about Wikipedia. I told my students that it's a good jumping off point that you can use to springboard into better research, that you have a general foundation that you didn't have before, that you can then go on and do the hard research yourself. It's like, this will introduce you to what's wrong with your commonly held belief that may not be true, and you can go then find what the actual narrative is that you need to have. I mean, because, like, you know, some of them are simplistic, saying that, like, let's see, what was one of them? Like, saying that Ritalin and amphetamines have very similar chemical compositions. Like, yep, but that doesn't say a whole lot. It's like you need to go and tell why that matters and what that goes into and how that affects people. But it's just that basic idea, and then moves forward. And like, I like this show. Like, I like learning new things, and this one really just kind of rapid fires new things at me where I'm like, awesome, yeah, this is great, keep doing it. You know, give me my info shot. It's like, I love it. It's fun. I think that you would like this if you can stand his shtick.
I don't know. I'd have to try it and see.
Yeah.
I think I need to wait until I'm in the right mood before I even give it a shot.
Yeah, but if you're in the mood, it's very quirky. That this is a very quirky show. But if you're in the mood for it when you start it, and I guess I was when I started, I was like, because it sucked me in. This is one that I think that you'll like it. Like you said, if you're in the mood for something that's just a little off kilter, but super cool.
Cool. Nice.
So yeah, that was my couple of weeks.
Yeah, sweet. Live games. But before we get into that, Q&A episode is next week. Thank you everyone for sending in questions. We have them all lined up and we're recording it immediately after this, so it's too late to send them in now. But if you send them in, I will hold on to them for the next time we do an episode. And also Geeky Offer the week. You always like to tell the people.
So we have a Patreon. Hopefully you guys know about it by now. And if you don't, you can go to patreon.com/geek2geekcast for some of our fantastic rewards tiers and help the podcast out. I would like to take this opportunity to say, if you would mind going to patreon.com/geek2geekcast, we have a post up on there looking for votes and ideas on what you would like for reward tiers. So if you could check that out, toss a vote in the poll and let us know. And while you're there, throw a buck our way. That'd be fantastic.
Nice. Also, don't forget about the rest of the network. Geektitude with Joe Hogan and Ray Vargas is fantastic. They do interviews and they talk about geeky stuff. Tea Time with Katie and Chelsea. I know this week they did a full episode on The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which I talked about a little bit, but they talked about more in depth. So if you need more of that, since I haven't actually watched the whole thing, you can go get your fix over there. Okay, so I've been playing a lot of games. I'm still playing a ton of Draglia Lost. Like, I'm hooked on it right now. I did the banner event raid so much. And part of it was
what was that? Like, I missed this one. So when I saw your note, it's like, I'm not exactly sure what the banner event raid is.
It was just like a wind boss. I mean, it had a whole story with it, and it had a bunch of like missions in the event to like get you to it. But once you got to the end, the part that's like repeatable, it was a wind boss like over and over that just had raid mechanics. And I really liked it. And like where my brain's been at that with 2019 planning, and it's just kind of been fried. So like this was the perfect thing for me to do when I didn't have enough brain power to play like a console game or something on PC. And I'm still playing Draglia every day. Like I would be surprised if that isn't in my top 5 game of the year. Like we're getting to that point, right? I'm thinking about game of the year. It's only like a month away now. So that I'm pretty sure that it's going to make the cut. I got to look back at the list, but don't be surprised if it shows up there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes mobile games make the cut.
Yep.
It's rare, but this one's working for me a lot. Gamefly. So I finished up my Gamefly subscription. I turned it back off for the season until probably, around September-ish next year. But I tried Hue, which was like this color-based platformer. The right stick is like a color wheel selection, and then different colors do different things. It was interesting, but the platforming was like too simple for me. And I kind of liked what they were doing, but it just, I don't know, it wasn't challenging enough, or suddenly it was too puzzly and not platformy enough. Like it just wasn't the right balance for me. But if you're into like a puzzle platformer that's based around color, maybe take a look, because it was decent.
It's pretty. Like I've seen videos of it. Like it is very pretty.
Yeah, I tried this game called Voltron Arc, if I'm pronouncing it right, a hero school story. I thought it was like about raising students in like an interesting school that's like a Japanese, I don't know. I must have been thinking Persona, right? Like Japanese school type setting.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. When you said hero school story, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, and that's not what it is at all. It's like a really bad action RPG. So whoops, that was my bad. So I sent that back really fast. Moonlighter was an interesting concept where you're this like merchant, but you have to do your own item acquiring through like Zelda style dungeons, which is fascinating. And like I like the dungeons enough, but the merchant mechanics just didn't end up being fascinating enough for me. They were like slow and plotting, and like I don't know, it's just kind of annoying. So I sent that one back. But I've told you, I'm pretty consistently about like 1 in 20 for a game that is borderline, and I find it, and then I'm like, oh wow, I'm really glad I tried this because I need this game. Tetris Effect. That's the one this year. Out of every game I tried,
bought Tetris Effect?
I did. So I didn't buy it from Gamefly. I got it. I tried it. I returned it, and then I bought it digitally so that I own it the way that I want to own it. But Tetris Effect is so good. Have you heard about this game?
I've heard about it, and I don't know if it was you tweeting about it or somebody else talking about just how great it was. And I don't think I ever even went and watched a video of this one. I just heard it was good, and I was like, okay, not my kind of game.
It's Tetris. I mean, it's Tetris. If you don't like Tetris, don't buy the game. Don't even look at it. Like well, actually, I take that back. Don't buy the game, but you should look at it anyway, because Tetris Effect is like a combination of music and sound and visualization going on while you're playing Tetris, and that is why it's amazing. The core game is basically Tetris. They do a couple other things. They add this like zone mechanic, and they add, a couple other things that are just kind of handy. But at its core, it's just Tetris that you're playing. But it's an all-encompassing, almost like Zen or flow-like state with these visualizations and music, and like the speed slows down and speeds up depending on what's going on in the visualization and in the music. And like every time you move a block or you rotate a block or you complete a line, like it has audio cues that go with everything else that's going on. And it's just been like such a really good, it's almost like calm down, almost meditative, but not quite, because there's something that's like going on that's interactive too. Does that make sense? Are you looking at a video of it right now?
Kind of. I'm not right now. No, I'm just listening, trying to visualize that. No, it sounds odd, but cool. Like it sounds odd, but cool.
It is. So I bought it and I've been playing it, and it's not a game. So, okay, you know that most of the time I try to focus on like a game at a time. Yep. This is not a game I'm trying to beat. This is a game that I want to play for 5 or 10 minutes a day, and that's all that I need, and that's about perfect. Like, it's just kind of a palate cleanser, but it's this like Zen flow state palate cleanser. And if you are remotely into puzzle games, or if you have ever liked any version of Tetris, you should really go look at this one.
Wow, that's high praise, because everybody likes some version of Tetris.
Yeah, and it's not a $60 game either. It's like 30 or 40. So, I mean, it's not super cheap, but it's also not a full price point. So keep that in mind.
Awesome. I'm glad you found one, though. I've been actually thinking this year that you wouldn't have found anything that you wanted to buy or keep.
I thought so, too. But no, it worked out. Another puzzle-ish game that I've been playing that I beat is The Return of the Obra Dinn. This is another one that I got to ask, have you even heard about it?
Yes, and I was watching a video of it the other day. Like, it was listed in, maybe it was on the Game Awards that somebody on Slack or Discord had linked, and I was going through seeing what all was nominated this year. I saw it and with them went and checked it out, and it is ridiculously beautiful. It has
so
such
cool.
stylized graphics. Like, I don't even know how to describe the graphics. It's like if a Game Boy came to life, or like you got sucked into a Game Boy.
It's kind of like the old Apple-style adventure games from not the green Apple, like when it had the green monitor, but once you moved over to more of like a full-color desktop monitor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, it's not necessarily full color, is it? Isn't it kind of
this
monochrome?
Is not, but you got a lot of monochrome games around then anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like an early, but that's not how it plays. The game.
Yeah, it's not. It is crazy beautiful.
Yeah, it's a first-person game, and it's a giant logic puzzle with time travel and investigation. So the story is basically that there's a ship that was abandoned, and it just turned up, like, on the coast of wherever. And you're an insurance adjuster, which, I mean, that's what I want to be with my free time in a video game. And you have to go out to the Oberdin, and you're tasked with finding out what happened to it, and basically like writing up a report of what happened. So you show up, you go on the boat, and like you kind of look around, and you're like, okay, there's like a couple corpses here that are pretty old and not a whole lot, but you were sent with this case. So you go back, you pick up the case, you open it up, and there's a book inside and there's a compass inside, and the entire game is basically around the two mechanics where you have a book and you have a compass, and this compass lets you go up to any of the bodies and you can click it and it will take you back to the moment that person died. And it is so fascinating because when you do that, you hear like 30 to 60 seconds of audio of what happened right before then. And then as soon as like the moment happened where the person died, it cuts to the scene and you're right in the middle of the scene. It's fully 3D. You interact with it in first person, but everything is frozen. But you can entirely walk around and see what's going on. So between having one still shot of the scene, but again, entirely in 3D. It's not like a 2D still shot.
It's not point and click
no,
kind of adventure.
No, it's WASD. You're looking around with mouse, keyboard, that type of thing. So between that and like the audio leading up to it, you have to slowly put together what happened to each person. So your end goal is there's like 60 people on the ship, and you have to say who each person is and match them up with their picture in the book. And then you also have to say how they were killed or if they survived, because some of the people do. And that's the game. It's just like, it's one of those logic puzzles where you got to be like, well, if this person did that, then that person couldn't have done this. And this is probably this person because of X, Y, Z.
Right.
And most of the game of actually putting together the logic takes place just in your mind. Like, beating this game towards the end, especially after I had unlocked most of the scenes, because once you unlock a scene, you can revisit it over and over again and kind of go back and explore. Once you do that, the game just takes place in your mind. Like, it's just sitting and like thinking about it. And I must have been in the perfect mood because I beat this game in 2 sittings, and it was amazing. Like, I love this game. It was so good. Like, if you like puzzle games, if you like logic puzzles especially, you really owe it to yourself to go get this one.
I've heard nothing negative about this game, that it's one of those kind of indie masterpieces. I know it's not my kind of game. Like, I don't necessarily like that kind of deduction kind of puzzle game, but everything I've seen has shown me that this is a great experience. Like, just the videos and reviews and people talking about it, just good stuff. Once I saw its name, I was like, that looks weird. And I saw a screenshot, I was like, I want to see what that looks like moving. Then I started looking more into it. I was like, oh, I wouldn't like playing that, but I like reading about it and hearing about it.
Yeah, it's cool. And if you aren't into logic puzzles, then maybe actually check out like a stream of this or a playthrough on YouTube or something, because like it's just so fascinating. So
it really is.
That was a good game. I also played more of Red Dead Redemption 2, even though you told me not to. I wanted to get my head around it some more. So I really like the relationship story between Arthur and there's this woman that he used to be with, and she's like optional missions as you go throughout. But it's so interesting, and I love this in games in general, when you get to step into a character's shoes that already has history in the world. Like, I would always rather take a fully formed character that I'm inhabiting over somebody that I created in character creation that could be anything. You know, that's just my preference. And I know some people will love the Bethesda way of I can always make my own character and be whatever. I'm the opposite. Like, give me something that's fully developed. You know, I like The Witcher 3. I really like Arthur in Red Dead Redemption 2 just because he's a character who's had history in the world.
I'm the same way as you are. People love character creation, and I don't even like customizing characters that much.
Yeah,
I just either. I'm there for the story, and the everyman blank slate is a worse storytelling. It's not a good storytelling device.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought more about this game, and there's some really interesting missions, especially I played a couple more. I'm still kind of stalled out in Saint Denis. Like, it's just not doing it for me. But there's this Lenny mission early on where you just go out drinking with Lenny, and it is like, it's the best mission that I've seen in a game in I don't even know how many years. Like, it's amazing what it does with perspective and forcing you into first person and doing these like jump cuts between things because you're out drinking. So it's like, you know, kind of showing you that like Arthur's like losing it as time goes on and like losing spaces of time. And it's funny and it's well done, but you have control of it enough that it's still an interactive like video game experience. It's so fascinating. Like, that's such a well done mission. And then the other thing is that, like, for every interesting mission like that, there are like 5 missions where you just ride around on your horse for 10 or 15 minutes listening to dialogue until you end up getting into a gunfight and you kill a bunch of enemies, and then the mission's done. Like, that is the majority of missions are like that. And then every once in a while you hit a golden one. And I hate that ratio. It feels like there's a lot here they could have cut back and edited out, and it would have made a stronger game. I also don't think I mentioned how like M-rated this game can be with
You didn't.
No, but it very much is with like situations, with violence, with language. Like, I have no problem with it. It fits the setting really well, but it also just means it's a game that I can't play around my kids at all. Like, there are some games that are borderline. It's like, oh, this is kind of violent, but my kids are smart. They know that violence isn't real if it's too video game, you know, stuff like that. This one, no. Like, I'm not letting my kids see this game at all. Like, if they come down, I pause it. If they're down for the day or the morning or whatever, I'm just not even playing it. So that's kind of unfortunate because I couldn't make as much progress as I would in other games. And then one of the things that one of my friends on, which we've talked about the AgriChat podcast before, but Tam on the AgriChat podcast said that it has a ludicrous number of well-developed verbs that are compelling even when the game isn't actually fun. And I think that is the best summary of Red Dead Redemption 2 that I have heard from anybody, so I had to bring it up. There are so many things to do. There are so many verbs that you can do in this game, but is it fun or is it just an overwhelming amount of verbs? I'm going to leave that up to you as the listener, but I'm not sure where I land on it. It's just a fascinating game.
And I've been thinking about this game because I want to play it, but in reference to Fallout 76, that I wanted to ask you, because this game came out first, but this game is also overshadowing Fallout 76 in so many ways. I keep seeing people say, well, I'm going back to RDR2, sorry, Fallout, that it's like, I know it's a very fantastically good game, but was there a reason that Bethesda pushed out 76 so close to this one? Did they really think it was going to be able to beat it? Like, it seems like a bad choice on their part to release it. It's like Titanfall 2 coming out around the same time that Call of Duty did.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer. I agree with you. I think it's a bad season and a bad time to release Fallout 76 right against Red Dead Redemption 2 and only like 2 months after Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like, maybe they should have waited until they had some empty calendar, but yeah, I don't know. That was their decision.
Yep. I was just curious because you keep up with that, so I wanted to ask if there was any kind of business decision that you knew about.
No, not that I know about. And usually Bethesda has a lot of free reign to release games when they want to, as like Bethesda Game Studio. So, I really don't know. The other thing that I played a lot of was Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, and I love this game. Like, it takes the grind and the random battles out of Pokemon while keeping the core of Pokemon that I'm interested in from the mainline series.
Tell them that I named your Eevee VeeVee.
As you heard from my wife, she named my VeeVee Eevee. No, the other way around. Your wife, my wife.
Strike that. Reverse it.
They haven't done a good job messaging this game. I feel like every time I see it, they're just showing the motion controls and like the part that looks like Pokemon Go, which are it's fine. Like, it's not bad. It's not great. Like, it's fine. It's serviceable, right? The thing in this game that's like keeps bringing me back is that the core of the like the core of the series is still there. The interesting battles against trainers and gyms and all of that is there in its entirety. And they cut out all of the grind and all of the part that's just repetitive. And like, I never really liked catching Pokemon in the old way where you had to attack them until they were down to a sliver of health. And then you got to like try to capture them before they run away or before you accidentally hit them one more time. And like, I don't like that. And this takes it completely out. It also, the fact that there's no random battles, you can actually see the wild Pokemon running around. So you can just combo the same Pokemon over and over if you're trying to get one with better stats or try to like get a shiny and increase your chances of that, or even if you just want to ignore all of the ones that are common and just run around an area until you see one that you don't have yet. Like, it's so nice to be able to do that. So I hope that they pull over a lot of that stuff into the next mainline game, even though I know that they won't do all of it. And it has nostalgia. This is Pokemon Yellow, basically. I mean, Red and Blue also, but this is basically Pokemon Yellow. And it has drop-in, drop-out co-op, which is amazing. Like, I knew there's co-op in the game, but they didn't do a really good job advertising how it works.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, basically, like, you're playing with one Joy-Con. If somebody takes the other Joy-Con and just shakes it, they just drop in from the sky as a support trainer. And on the overworld, if they run into a random Pokemon, it will stun them. So it kind of helps you when you're trying to catch the right Pokemon. Otherwise, when you get into a battle, you throw out your Pokemon and the support trainer automatically throws out whatever you have in Pokemon spot number 2. So they get access to your entire Pokemon.
Oh, that is awesome. I had zero idea of that. That's a great idea.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't think they did a very good job messaging the game. I'm sure it's going to do great because it's Pokemon, right? And it has Eevee and Pikachu on the cover. But I think they could have appealed to the hardcore crowd a lot more easily if they would have just highlighted some different things in the game instead of showing the motion capture mechanic over and over again.
I honestly didn't know until you and I were talking that it actually had battles. Exactly. Because I was curious on how they were going to do the fighting with the motion controls, because that was how you catch them, yes, but usually it's through the battle. I end up killing 3 of them and having to grind more, like you said. And I thought that there was like they had taken out battles in this because I have never seen. I still haven't, because I haven't even bothered to look, but I didn't know that there were battles. I don't know what they look like in this game.
Yeah, they look just like a battle, except it's done in HD and it's on your home television, which is amazing because Pokemon's always been handheld. Like, there are so many things like that. Like, the core battles are in the game intact, and like you said, so many people don't even realize those are in the game. I also can't overstate the fact that seeing a full Pokemon game on my TV is amazing. Like, it's great. It's fantastic. And I think at this point, like, this is probably the best place to start with the series. If you've never played a mainline Pokemon game before, this is where I'm going to direct people from now on. The no random battles, the no finicky catching mechanics. I guess another thing, just like they've smoothed out edges all over the place. Like, you can access basically everything right from your menu. Whereas in a lot of older Pokemon games, if there was kind of like an edge case thing you could do, you might have to track down a certain person in the world or go to a certain area or complete a certain task. No, this game, it's just all right in your menu, which is so nice. But yeah, I think I kind of prefer this to the mainline Pokemon games I've been playing lately. And that's really weird for me to say because I went into this with kind of not low expectations, but the bar wasn't set very high. I just wanted like casual Pokemon game that I could play a little bit with my kids, and I ended up really, really liking it, and now I'm playing this game a lot.
How is it in terms of the RPG part of it? Because I know like the last one I played was Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby, excuse me. So the last one I played was Omega Ruby, and it like the story is Pokemon story where it's not really in depth, but there is one. How have they expanded the story at all, or is it still I want to be the best Pokemon trainer? I mean,
it's Pokemon Yellow. Like, it's that's what it is. I mean, they've
so they haven't expanded stuff like that. Okay.
No. It's still Pokemon for the story. So if that's what you're going for, that's that's what it is.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm liking Pokemon Let's Go Eevee a lot. I'll probably play it a lot more in the next couple weeks here. So I'll report back after I'm farther in the game in a couple episodes.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's probably it for this week. We got to jump off and record our Q&A episode, which you guys will hear a week from now. You can write to us with comments, suggestions, or feedback. Our email address is geek2geekcast@gmail.com, or reach us on Twitter @geek2geekcast. We also have longer discussion threads on the subreddit at reddit.com/r/geek2geekcast.
And we also have great discussions on Slack and Discord, and you can go to discord.geek2geekcast.com or slack.geek2geekcast.com to hang out with us. And like we said earlier, we're part of a podcast network, so check all of our shows out at geek2geekcast.com.
I blog at agreenmushroom.com, and you can find me at grnmushroom. That's green mushroom without the E's on Twitter.
And I'm on Twitter as at Professor Beej. That's Beej with 2 E's, and I blog at geekfitness.net.
We've been Void and Beej with your Geek to Geek podcast. That'll do it for this week. See you next week, geeks.
Trade negotiations are fun.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie.
And I'm Chelsea, and we are the hosts of Tea Time with Katie and Chelsea. We are two best friends who love pop culture and talking about pretty much whatever we want. Katie!
Yes.
Stop thinking about Zac Efron and tell our future listeners what some of our latest episodes have been about.
Well, we've talked about Zac Efron.
No, get it together, Katie.
Fine. We've talked about fan fiction, classical literature adaptations, favorite TV couples, and so much more. So grab your cup of tea or whatever your drink of choice is and download our podcast today.
Hi, my name is Joe Hogan, and I'm a geek. And if you're currently listening to this, there's a good chance you're a geek too. So check out my podcast, Geektitude. Each week, I talk with somebody about their geek aptitude. Sometimes I talk to people in a geeky profession. Sometimes it's someone doing something really cool with their geekiness. Often it's another geeky podcaster. But it's always someone who wants to share their inner geek. So join me each week as we come together to geek out about all the geeky stuff we love. And remember, this week, keep it geek.